What's your friends? Your special friends. Your knees. You stole myself. Yep. Sort of things start to slow down a little. Yep. I'm used to it. Run fast for a while. Run fast. Easier. It's a breed that was developed. Village called Buck Fast. And there's the aviary out in Texas. Right? Breeds them. You have to have a special certificate that says, like a license that says that you are allowed to do this. That is sure. Yeah. So yeah. Then you got two others. Got this one on the board. Yeah. Yeah. And it will tough for friends. I do not. I work a lot. But that's good. I look forward to seeing you do upcoming and I was just out. So everything was just really great this year. You've done it for the last 2 years, right? So for because of the pandemic, it's great to be a little more consistent. It's good to see. Well, in my opinion, it's necessary because you were a part of that. It's a wonderful. It is just because it's lots of fire, lots of nice people, lots of nice chapters, and it's really great to get together to sing so many on so many. It's a big grand. It's nice to meet, and then it's nice to meet singers from other churches and congregations. Yeah, I was in that special.
I'm so glad you're
Kind of special
here.
and unique to Omaha, and just that tradition that Omaha has. It's a cool tradition.
I was thinking that.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I look forward to it. I'm sure also services rehearsals for that.
I may have the notes, but it's the wrong notes. Did Grace enjoy the service last night? By accident. No. Well, I can sing it, but nobody wants to know me singing like. Thanks. You want to hear my story? So Dave has this really great friend, Neil Rowan. They met here. He was a classroom teacher. And he ended up going to church. But he doesn't analyze it. It's an honor. Washington, D.C. Dave's happy. I'm just that song that you have on the spot. He went up to stay with us. She's Julia. She stayed with me what Dave told me. Right. So I said, what do I do for pet? And I don't like. And of course he forgot. Like I said to my mom, so Julia said, I know, me too. It's that Joseph Reed cost. It's way more. Carsos used to carry stuff. Yeah, I really like this. He's crazy girls. I was like, is this too much? It's my swank outfit. I have so many clothes that are like down. But they're still.
Oh yeah, that's good.
No, this was a just one of my last.
The road. Way more comfortable. And it feels warm personally.
That's the way that
When you come on.
it's right. I did tell you, yes.
Boker Tov. We begin this morning with "We are your people." The words can be found on the screens. We are your people.
Boker Tov, Shana Tova, Gamar Chatima Tova. There are so many greetings at this time of year, it is hard to know where to start, so we just do all of them. I'm so delighted to welcome everybody here to Temple Israel and to our Yom Kippur service this morning. But before we dive in, I want to take a moment to speak about the liturgy of Yom Kippur, which is among the most powerful of our tradition. The words of our ancient prayers weave together with the beauty of the music in a way that challenges us and uplifts us, compelling us to turn inward and do some really serious work of the soul. So often we focus our attention on the here and the now, on our immediate needs, on our meeting schedules and our deadlines, on our laundry and our groceries, on caring for parents and schlepping our children. We try to carve out time for ourselves, but all too often, time to stop and simply be falls off the list. Every Shabbat, I come here and I begin by asking our community to take a moment to breathe, to close your eyes and to center yourselves. Because as I've heard from so many of you, sometimes that is the first time all week that you give yourselves permission to stop, even just for a few moments. Yom Kippur is known in the Torah as Shabbat Shabbaton, the Sabbath of Sabbaths. And if Shabbat comes into our lives each week as a gentle reminder to rest and to renew, then Yom Kippur comes as more of a demand that we take a moment for ourselves away from the hustle and bustle of life and turn inward, to take in the silence and the music and the majesty of Yom Kippur and allow our souls to be moved toward repentance and renewal. So I'd like to invite you to take a moment now, to close your eyes, to prepare yourselves to let go of, as I always say, the schmutz of our lives, just for a moment. I promise it will be there waiting for you when Yom Kippur ends. But maybe it won't seem as pressing. Maybe we'll come to the challenges and the demands of life with new eyes and maybe even new hearts. Dan lifnei mi'ata omed, know before whom you stand. Today we stand before each other, we stand before God, and we stand before ourselves. And as we become fully present in this moment, knowing before whom we stand, we pray that this Shabbat Shabbaton will move our spirits and our souls in the ways that we need it the most. So take just a moment. And now we begin, ready to be moved by the power and the majesty and the beauty of this day. Page 164.
Baruch Shabar V'haya Ha'olam. Baruch, Baruch, tov v're'av. Baruch chai la'ad v'kayam lanetzach. Baruch hodeh. O matzil baruch shemo. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam. Baruch hu. Baruch hu. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam. Baruch hu. Baruch hu.
Please join in reading with me in the middle of that same page. Blessed is the one who spoke the world into being. Praised is God. Praise the one who is ever creating. Praise the one who creates with a word. Praise the one whose vision is made real. Praise the one who loves the earth. Praise the one who loves earth's creatures. Praise the one whose worshippers know goodness. Praise the one whose life and being last forever. Praise the one who rescues and sets free. Blessed is your name. Our sovereign, we praise you with songs of celebration. Your oneness is the life of the cosmos. Baruch atah Adonai melech mehulal batishbachot. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your majesty is celebrated in songs of praise. We continue on page 186. I invite all who are comfortable in doing so to please rise for the Shema.
Page 195, please be seated. We read responsively by paragraph. And they shall know that I, Adonai, am their God, who brought them out of the land of Egypt, that I might abide among them. I, Adonai, their God.
You took us out of the darkness so that your light might dwell among us.
You showed us your power to bring down the powerful, uplift the enslaved, transform the social order.
You showed us your strength so that we might remember our own.
We carry the Exodus vision wherever we go, lest we forget our sense of liberation, lest we lose the joy of breathing free, lest we grow indifferent and blind to others' pain.
So long as we work to make you present, we walk the path of freedom. But if we forget to bring you into this world, then we return to the darkness.
We continue on page 198. As we begin the Amidah, we continue through the even pages until page 204. Please rise if you are able.
Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ לחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, כותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך חוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אמן. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מחכה חיים בחסד, בחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סובב נופלים רופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. לחיים מרחמים, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אמן.
Please be seated.
The story is told of a thief who hired someone to be their lookout. They went to carefully enter the building at 2 a.m., but every time the thief got close to the door that was going to be their entrance, the lookout said, "Someone's watching, someone's watching." They would very carefully check their surroundings, but no one else was there. After the third time, the thief said, "Why do you keep saying that? Every time there hasn't been anyone anywhere near us." The lookout replied, "But God is always watching." Da lifnei mi ata omed, know before whom you stand, is the reminder of preparation written over the entry to our sanctuary and in many other synagogues. Often it is posted as a reminder for those who would be leading the congregation in prayer, but it is applicable to all of us. We are reminded that at any moment, particularly when we are together in sacred community, we stand before the congregation, we stand before ourselves, we stand before God. Rabbi Berezin spoke last night about the blessings of committing ourselves to sacred community. This morning, I'm going to be speaking about standing before ourselves and before God. Da lifnei mi ata omed, know before whom you stand. We stand on this day of Yom Kippur before ourselves. For the atheists and agnostics listening, I'm going to start with why this idea is worth considering, even if one does not believe in God and does not believe that God is always watching. The people that I meet who do not believe in God have generally put a great deal of thought into why they do not believe. It is not a matter of their non-belief eventually being shattered in a time of extreme need, as the aphorism that there are no atheists in foxholes would indicate. As a side note, the corollary that there are no theists in foxholes because their faith has been in God has been shattered in a time of extreme need would also seem to be possible if we are going to use foxholes as a test of belief. Atheists truly do not believe that God exists. So why are they here this morning? They believe in the power of being part of a family, being part of this sacred community, being part of this heritage. They just do not believe that there is a God who is an old man in the sky that controls everything in the cosmos, causes bad things to happen to good people, and is the source of all conflict in the world. Does da lifnei mi ata omed, know before whom you stand, apply to all of us? What work is there to do today besides listening to the beautiful music and poetry, as well as reconnecting with family, friends, and community? The Mishnah, the earliest compilation of Jewish law, addresses some of the work that needs to be done in the tractate on Yom Kippur. Averot sheben adam lamakom Yom HaKippurim mechaper. Averot sheben adam lachavero ein Yom HaKippurim mechaper ad sheyiratze et chavero. For transgressions between a person and God, Yom Kippur atones. However, for transgressions between one person and another, Yom Kippur does not atone until he appeases the other person. Almost 2 millennia ago, the rabbis made a distinction between the types of atonement that we do on this day. Their priority was those ruptures of relationship between an individual and God. We know what we have done, and God knows what we have done, and we need to make it right to restore that relationship. But the second half of our Mishnah is about how we live in the world, and God is not a part of that equation. We cannot ask God to repair our relationships with other people. We need to make those repairs ourselves. We need to be the ones who recognize what we have done, who feel remorse, who ask for forgiveness, who make restitution, and who resolve never to do this again. The work of repair in relationships is important to all of us, no matter what we think about God. And we cannot forget our relationship with ourselves as one needing repair, sometimes as the most important work we need to do. Part of our repentance and forgiveness work is to realize that we need to change and repairing that sense of who we are. Da lifnei mi ata omed, know before whom you stand, works for all of us as a reminder that we stand before ourselves, that we must live with ourselves. The high holidays give us time for introspection, time to consider and weigh our actions for the past year. The liturgy gives us lists of sins to prompt us to remember things that we might have done in the past year that need to be addressed. Yom Kippur gives us a deadline for making those amends to others and ourselves. Da lifnei mi ata omed, know before whom you stand. We stand on this day of Yom Kippur before God. Carrie H. Tooling's book, Thinking About God, Jewish Views, starts with why thinking about God matters at all. She says, theology defines what is possible in our lives. To give an example, if you believe in miracles, then miracles can happen in your life. And if you do not, then they cannot. This is not a form of magical thinking, but a statement about the role of belief. Our conceptions shape the contours of our world. So your decision as to whether or not miracles are possible determines whether or not events will qualify as miracles for you. Your theology, in other words, sets limits, expansive or restrictive, of what is possible in your world. The possibilities in our world are determined by our thoughts about God. Her book goes on to give a very wide range of Jewish thinking about God. Having thought about God for millennia as a people, all the time that we've been in relationship with God, it should not be surprising that there is no single distillation down to the one requirement that we believe that God is an old man in the sky. We are not required to believe in God, and we are not required to all believe in God the same way. I believe in God. I know that I struggle with my ideas about God. I know I am not always logical or coherent. Sometimes, though, it can be helpful to read or hear what other people think about God. And I will share with you some of what I believe about God. I believe that God is the creator, which is probably how I made the switch from biology to the rabbinate. It is part of the wonder of biology to see the beauty of God's design. I believe that God revealed the Torah to us. I don't think that Moses took dictation on Mount Sinai, but I do think that God is found in the words of Torah. I believe that God redeemed us from Egypt, whether or not the Sea of Reeds actually split. The exodus from Egypt is too much part of the fabric of Judaism for me to believe that God was not a part of that. I believe that God is eternal and holy and infinite and all-powerful and all-knowing. I believe that God gave humanity free will. I believe that we have a relationship with God as human beings and that we have a covenant with God as Jews. I think that God is constant. There have been times for me when God has felt distant. It took me a long time to realize that I'm the one who moves away at those times. There are many things that I don't believe about God. I don't think that God has a favorite sports team, nor has God cursed the Cleveland Guardians or the Detroit Lions. And no, I am not going to share my thoughts about who will win the World Series this year. I don't think that God influences the outcome of roulette, blackjack, bingo, or the lottery, even if you do buy a ticket. I don't think that God has a form or a body. I don't think that God is male. I don't think that God is female. But here is where my theology becomes contradictory. I don't think that God has eyes, but I want to know that God sees. I don't think that God has ears, but I want to know that God hears our prayers. I don't think that God has hands, but I want God to act, to heal, to intervene. I don't think that God has arms, but I want God to comfort me. I don't think that God has wings, but I want to be under the shadow of God's wings when I die, as we read in El Malei Rachamim, God full of compassion, the prayer sung at funerals. This morning we are about to recite the prayer that challenges me the most, Unatana Tokef. In this prayer we speak of God as awesome and fearsome. We stand trembling before God as we are judged, as God judges all this day. The evidence that God examines is our own words in our very own handwriting about all the things that we have done this year, both for the good and for the bad. Troubling enough, but then we read that God considers each soul and sets our destiny and the limits of our life. How many shall pass on? How many shall come to be? Who shall live and who shall die? Who shall see ripe age and who shall not? Who shall perish by fire? and who by water. I do believe that our actions count. I can't believe that God is a puppet master who determines what my life is to the last detail. How can we think that God decides who will live and who will die on this day? And I struggle. It is easy for us to see things as either or. Either we believe this prayer in its entirety or we are not here. I think for us as the people, Israel, there is another choice. I think that the struggles that I have spoken of are also a valid choice. Too often, there are those who think that the idea of God is one size fits all. There is one way to think, and this is not true. So I really want to share that I struggle. I wrestle with our texts, I challenge our liturgy, I actively think about God. My ideas about God have changed as I have changed throughout my life. And I don't have all the answers, and that's fine. In Genesis, we read about Jacob wrestling with a man, an angel, beside the Jabbok River the night before he sees his brother Esau again. After it is all over, Jacob gets his new name, Yisrael, Israel, one who wrestles, who struggles with God. Questioning, challenging, wrestling, thinking about God is very Jewish. Da lifnei mi ata omed, know before whom you stand. Today is the day that we all stand together as sacred community in person and on Zoom, knowing the support that we receive and offer to each other. Today is the day that we stand before ourselves, knowing the possibility of forgiving ourselves. Today is the day that we stand before God. We continue now on page 208 as we enter the Unatana Tokef, the prayer that I mentioned in my sermon. We will be on the even number pages, page 208.
Unatane Tokef Kedushat Hayom. Kihu norav hayom, uvot naseh, malchutecha. Dayan mochiach, Yodei havayim, v'chatev, v'chatev, it is grown, kol hanishkachet, תפתח את ספר הזיכרונות.
page 213. An empty page, an open book, a day of ultimate questions. Will I still be here next year at this time with the ones I love beside me? What is in store for my family? And what will become of my friends? Who will have reason to celebrate? Who will contend with grief? New love, new babies, marriages deepening or breaking apart, prosperity, struggle, reversals of fortune, illness, and health await us. Who will be missing when we gather next? Who will stand apart? Who will be estranged? And who will have joined us, enriching our community? On the edge of the unknown, we tremble. What lies ahead for us all? An empty book, an open page, nothing is written and nothing is sealed. Flesh and blood, frail creatures, our lives are fleeting and subject to chance. Yet this we possess, the strength to persist, to prevail, to comfort one another in the dark. Prayer, right action, a turning toward the good, these give us hope and help us bear the pain of life. I invite everyone to continue with silent prayer. The pages in the book are on the words of your heart. And then we'll join together for a prayer for peace on page 246.
אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
We continue now on page 273 as we prepare to offer a prayer to God for God's healing blessings, healing of body, healing of spirit. On this Yom Kippur, we are keeping in mind Barton Arnold, Virginia Becker, Tony Beraldi, Jean Broskow, Lisa Brunkhorst, Hildardo Carrera, Sandy Christofferson, Edward Cohn, Judy Cooper, Manuel Delgadillo, Ariana Elness, Pamela Fox, Rabbi Sim Glazer, Jody Goldstein, Milo Goodman, Crystal Gould, Judy Kyman, Karen Levine, Mike Liddy, Gary Marshall, Dan Mass, Elizabeth Murray, Teresa Newell, Nathan Nutt, Pedro Comi Olimpio, Karen Euler, Wendy Passer, Jamie Poole, Linda Redler, Steve Redler, Emily Sachs, George Sachs, Gregory Sachs, Steve Seglin, Linda J. Sherman, Dee Dee Spiegel, Coralie Thomas, Laura J. West, Barb Wigg, Brent Wine. We keep all in mind those that we've named and those that we keep close in our hearts as we ask God's healing blessings on all of them. We continue now on page 252. I invite you to please rise as we open the ark for the singing of Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chol aleinu. V'yolol aleinu, v'tabenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Admenu v'sefer chaim tovim. Avinu Kadesh Aleinu, Kadesh Aleinu, Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kadesh Aleinu, Shana Tova. Avinu Avinu Malkeinu, Onenu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Onenu Malkeinu, Ki Eimanu Ma'asim, Aseh Imanu, Tzedaka v'chesed, Aseh Imanu, Tzedaka v'chesed, ve'ashienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Onenu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Onenu Malkeinu, Ki Eimanu Ma'asim.
Please be seated. In a moment, we will hear the haunting words of the prophet Isaiah. God calls to Isaiah and instructs him to lift up his voice like the shofar and to not hold back. Isaiah's words are meant to startle us out of our apathy and our indifference, and remind us that prayer and ritual alone are not enough. They have to lead to something greater. They have to lead to action. Isaiah cries out to the people, "Is not the fast I desire to break the bonds of injustice, to let the oppressed go free, to share your bread with the hungry?" The act of fasting itself is not enough. The ritual is empty without a true understanding of the injustices of our time and a commitment to meaningful action to pick up the broken pieces of our world and begin to heal them. Wake up, Isaiah says. God is waiting. We are waiting. Fasting is something that we do with great preparation and intentionality on this day, hoping and praying that it brings us greater meaning into our lives and allows us not to be distracted by the mundane needs of our bodies. But even as we feel the pains of hunger in our bellies, most of us know that this is a temporary inconvenience. But for some, fasting is not an act of faith or dedication or intentionality. It's an everyday reality. If we are to take these words of Isaiah to heart and do more than listen to them, we must accompany them by meaningful action. So today I'm delighted to remind you that we are providing an opportunity to translate your prayer and your ritual into action, immediately following this service, in fact. Everyone here is invited to join us as we dive into addressing the work of hunger head-on. For years, our community has hosted a Yom Kippur food drive, and we have brought in thousands of pounds of food for the hungry among us. But this year, we're delighted to return to a pre-pandemic activity in an effort to do more than shipping our food off for someone else to eat and for someone else to take care of. We invite you to join us in our community court as we sort and weigh and pack the food together. We will not end hunger on this day, but it is an opening, a beginning, a start. And in our efforts to continue to address hunger, not just today, but throughout the year, there are many opportunities to work with our hands and our hearts. If you'd like to serve meals at the Stevens Center, you can reach out to our past president, Dan Gilbert, who's spearheading the effort this year. If you'd like to get involved in CARE Act Reach, a tri-faith effort to purchase groceries and deliver food to the hungry in our community, you can connect with Mindy Marburg or with Sherry Hess. If you'd like to get to work in our tri-faith community garden, where we've donated over 4,000 pounds of produce this season alone to community food banks, please connect with Bonnie Lazarowitz or Eileen Arnold or Charlie Shapiro or Sandy Nog or Chris Fair or any of the other dozens of volunteers who make this possible. On this Yom Kippur, with the words of Isaiah in our hearts and in our minds, I invite us to make a commitment to making this fast, this day, matter. To allow the words of Isaiah to break open our hearts and fill us with fire to take on the challenges of our broken world. Together, let's make this Yom Kippur, this fast day, a day of true holiness and intention. At this time, I'd like to invite Dan Gilbert, Judy Fagan, and Jeff Schweid to the bema as they recite our blessings and chant the sacred words of Isaiah. The blessings before and after can be found on page 275 and 279, while the reading itself can be found on page 277.
You want the big one?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza v'divrayhem hanemarin be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah u'Moshe avdo Yisrael amo, uvindiei ha'amet v'tzedek.
Amen.
Kira v'garon al takso, kashofar harem kolecha, v'haged la'ami pisham, uve Yaakov. hatotam. Veoti yom yom yidroshon, vedat derachai yakpatsun, kirgoi asher tzedakah asa, umishpat Elohai lo azav, yishaluni mishpete tzedek, kirvat Elohim yapatsun.
Cry from the depths, says God. Do not hold back. Lift up your voice like the shofar. Tell my people their transgression and the house of Jacob their sin. Yes, they seek me daily, as though eager to hear my ways, as if they were a nation that does what is right and has not abandoned God's law. They ask of me the right way, eager for God's nearness. They say, why did we fast and you did not see it? We afflict ourselves and you do not know it. Because even on your fast day, you think only of desire, while oppressing all who work for you. Because your fasting is filled with strife, and with calloused fist you strike. No, your fasting this day will not lift up your voice before heaven. Is this the fast I desire? A day to afflict body and soul, bowing your head like a reed, covering yourself with sackcloth and ashes. Do you call this a fast? A day worthy of the favor of Adonai? Is not this the fast I desire? To break the bonds of injustice and remove the heavy yoke, to let the oppressed go free and release all those enslaved. Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and to take the homeless poor into your home, and never to neglect your own flesh and blood? Then shall your light burst forth like the dawn, and your wounds shall quickly heal. Your righteous one leading the way before you, the presence of Adonai guarding from behind.
Alo, foras rav lachmecha, vaneim rudim, tovi bayit, kitere oras bekisiso, umivesharcha lo titalam. Oz yivaka shachar orecha, baruchatcha mehera titzma, Behelach lefanecha tzidkecha, kevod Adonai yasvecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol olamim, tzadik b'kol adorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer ve'oseh, hamdaber u'mkayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek. Ala Torah ve'ala avodah ve'ala neviim v'yom kippurim hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu limchila v'litzlicha lefarcha v'lekavod ultifaret ala kol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach u'mvarchem otach yiprach shemcha b'fi kol chai tomid le'olam va'ed Udvarcha emet v'kayam lad, Baruch atah Adonai, Melech mokel v'salech lavod natenu, v'lavonat amay b'el b'nei Yisrael, u'ma'avir ashmenu b'kol shana tova, Melech al kol ha'aretz, v'kadesh Yisrael v'yom ha'kippurim.
Amen.
יישר כוח.
Sit down. Sit down. Impressive. We continue in our prayer books on page 293. Please join with me. Because I was angry, because I didn't think, because I was exhausted and on edge, because I'd been drinking, because I can be mean, because I was reckless and selfish, because I was worried about money, because my marriage was dead, because other people were doing it, because I thought I could get away with it, because I did something wrong, because I'm in pain, because I wish I could undo it, because I hurt him, because I lost her trust, because I let them down, because I was self-destructive, because I was foolish, because I'm ashamed, because that's not who I am, because that's not who I want to be, because I want to be forgiven. God, bring down my walls of defensiveness and self-righteousness. Help me to stay in humility. Please give me the strength to do what's right. We continue on page 294.
Page 296, I invite you to please rise. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence, and when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong.
Ay, 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 Ashamnu,
Ashamnu,
Bagadnu,
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu,
Gazalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Dibarnu Dofi,
ay, 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 Havinu,
Avinu,
Vehirshanu,
Vehirshanu,
Zadnu,
Zadnu,
Chamasnu,
Chamasu,
Tafalnu Shaker,
Tafalnu Shaker,
ay, 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 Ya'atznu-ra,
Yatsnura,
Kizavnu,
Kizavnu,
Latznu,
Latsu,
Maradnu,
Maradnu,
Niatznu,
Niatsu,
Sararnu,
Saranu,
Avinu,
Avinu,
Pashanu,
Pashanu,
Sararnu,
Saranu,
Kishinu Oref,
Kishinu Oref,
ay, 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 Rashanu,
Rashanu,
Shichatnu,
Shikhatnu,
Tiavnu,
Tiavnu,
Tainu,
Tainu,
Titanu.
Titanu.
Together, of these wrongs we are guilty. We betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely, we are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander, we devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey, we abuse, we defy, we corrupt, we commit crimes, we are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral, we kill, we spoil, we go astray, we lead others astray. Please be seated. Page 301.
I need to speak these words aloud and to know that the universe hears them. I get caught in old patterns and paradigms. I am stubborn and hard-headed. In the last year, I have missed the mark more than I want to admit. Forgive me, source of all being, for the sin I have sinned before you. Please join with me by allowing my body to be an afterthought too often and too easily, by not running, leaping, climbing, or dancing although I am able, by eating in my car and at my desk mindlessly and without blessing, by not embracing those who needed it and not allowing myself to be embraced, by not praising everybody's beauty with our quirks and imperfections, by letting my emotions run roughshod over the needs of others, by poking at sources of hurt like a child worrying a sore tooth, by revealing my heart before those who neither wanted nor needed to see it, by hiding love out of fear of rejection instead of giving love freely, by dwelling on what's internal when the world is desperate for healing, by indulging in intellectual argument without humility or consideration, by reading words of vitriol cultivating hot indignation, by eschewing intellectual discomfort that might prod me into growing, by living in anticipation and letting anxiety rule me, by accepting defeatist thinking and the comfortable ache of despair, by not being awake and grateful despite uncountable blessings, by not being sufficiently gentle with my actions or with my language, by not being pliant and flexible, but obstinate, stark, and unbending, by not being generous with my time, with my words, or with my being, by not being kind to everyone who crosses my wandering path. For all these, O eternal source of forgiveness, help me know myself to be pardoned. Help me feel in my bones that I am forgiven. Remind me that I am already at one with you. Page 302 at the very bottom. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
Page 307. We confess our sins against the earth. We commit ourselves to saving it. We have assaulted our planet in countless ways. We have blamed others for the spiraling, deepening crisis. We have consumed thoughtlessly and irresponsibly. We have driven myriad species to the point of extinction. We have exhausted irreplaceable resources. We have failed to transcend borders and act unselfishly. We have given in to our many appetites and our gluttony. We have harmed beyond repair the habitats of living beings. We have ignored the signs of change in our climate and our seasons. We have jeopardized the well-being of future generations. We have known the problem but left problem solving to others. We have lost sight in our role as God's partners in creation. We have mocked cynically those who love creatures great and small. We have neglected the environment, most of all in places of poverty. We have overpopulated our cities and overfished our oceans. We have polluted seashore and sky, fertile soil and freshwater springs. We have questioned and doubted solid evidence of danger. We have ravaged the old growth forests, ecosystems created over centuries. We have spewed poison into the bloodstream of our land, its rivers, lakes, and statuaries. We have transformed dazzling beauty into industrial ugliness. We have used shared resources for personal gain and corporate profit. We have violated the commandment, do not destroy. We have wasted precious treasures, our God-given gifts. We have exploited the weakest and most vulnerable in our midst. And yet we yearn to be better guardians of this earth and the fullness thereof. Let us be zealous now to care for this unique corner of the cosmos, this planet, our sacred home.
Am I there for those who need me? Giving of my heart completely. Have I been caring and have I been patient? Have I forgiven without reservation?
Do I take my days for granted? Treated others even-handed? And shown compassion to the homeless stranger? Have I been humble for my Creator? Immaculata. have I tread lightly on this planet? Have I held fast to your commandment? And have I raised my voice against injustice? Have I been giving or have I been selfish? Ve'akulam, ve'akulam, Eloi Sekot, ve'akulam, 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 Eloi Sekot, ve'akulam. Selach lanu, mechalanu, kapelanu, ve'akulam. Selach lanu, mechalanu, kapelanu, ve'akulam. Ve'akulam, Esainai, ve'akulam, El Harim, Elohai Slikot, ve'ayin Yavo, Ezrim, ve'akulam, Ezrim, ve'akulam, Adonai, Elohai Slikot,
We take time now for our own individual introspection and silent confession. On pages 308 and 309, you will see a whole series of prompts to take you through considering this past year and what you might want to change for this coming year, or you may have your own reflection in mind, but we take a moment now for that. Page 312 in the middle of the page. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov taught, always look for the good in yourself and remember, joy is not incidental to your spiritual quest, it is vital. For so it is written, you will go out through joy and be led forth in peace. Focus on the good in yourself, take joy in what is good, and you will be led forth from inner darkness.
We join together with We Are Your People as we had begun the service. We are close to the conclusion. We are your people, you are our God. We are your children, you are
forward to invite Dan Gilbert, a member of our Board of Trustees, to greet you all and give you some announcements.
Good morning and good Yom Tov. First, a sincere thank you to our choir, to our musicians, to our clergy team, to our staff, those that are watching on Zoom. That doesn't happen without a team behind them, so thank you very much. And also thank you to our greeters and ushers who greeted us warmly as we walked in today. That's a nice feeling to get back to. As we heard last night, next week we start the Festival of Sukkot. There are lots of opportunities to dwell in the sukkah. Outside of the scheduled events, please feel free to come and just hang out. It's there to be used. We might be biased, but the event we're most excited about is the opportunity to bring your own lunch and dine with our clergy members in the sukkah. So if you're available, it's from 12 to 1 on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. On Tuesday, you'll have a chance to chat with Rabbi Appel. On Wednesday with Cantor Alexander, and on Thursday with Rabbi Berezin. Please join us for some friendly conversation. Tuesday evening, we're also hosting a schmooze and brews in the sukkah. So join us for a light nosh and a brew of your choice. That can be beer, coffee, tea, and even kombucha. Wednesday is our community event programming. It's for all. We have congregants from ages 0 to 102 in this congregation, and we hope you all join us. Dinner is at 6 with programming starting at 6:30. This includes an astronomer, a presentation from Taylor Green, and more. Sounds exciting. Friday, we'll have a Shabbat Oneg and hosting a sushi in the sukkah for 20-somethings, which will take place in the Tri-Faith Garden Sukkah. So a lot going on for Sukkot. In any event, if the weather is not cooperating, we'll convene inside. RSVPs are encouraged, but walk-ins are welcome. We're hosting a Sock It To Me drive all through Sukkot, collecting warm socks to be donated to those in need in our community as winter approaches. And Sunday the 16th is Simchat Torah and consecration. We'd love a full house to celebration for our newest learners and for everyone to experience the rolling and re-rolling of the Torah. Thank you. L'shana tova.
Just as a reminder, after the service today, please go directly into the community court. Join us for our food packing. We have a full afternoon of services and ways to reflect and renew and refresh our souls. There will be food packing, a healing service at 2, time for personal reflection in front of the Ark, followed by Yizkor at 4 and Ne'ilah at 5:15. Please join us as we pray and grow and start this new year together. We turn our thoughts to those who we remember at this time, those who are no longer with us physically, but who remain in our hearts and bring presence to our lives even while they are not here. If I say the name of a loved one, I invite you to please rise as you're able. We are in Shiva, the first 7 days of mourning for Francis V. Blumkin, and we are in Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning for Leonard Kriegel, Warren E. Bud Phillips, and Martin Sofer. We remember the yahrzeits of Sylvia Alexander, Rachel Klein Beeson, Dr. Oscar Karp, Harriet Cherniak, Harold Sonny Garber, Aaron Gluckman, Eric Brandon Harrison, Jacob Hart, Israel D. Eisman, Eva Kirschbraun, Nathan Mandel, Sidonie Stern Marburg, Marie Klein Mayer, Gerald Mayer, Orville Alex Milder, Henry Niesman, Janet S. Perlmeter, Paul S. Phillip, Dorothy Racusin, Hi S. Schreier, Stephen L. Siegel, Morton Sorif, Edwin N. Summer, Audrey Sofer, Walter Zev Stark, Harry Weiner, and Sally Ziegler. Together with the names that we hold in our hearts and those we have said out loud, I invite everyone to please rise if you are able as we join together in community for the recitation of Mourner's Kaddish on page 122. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, ve'amad divrach yirteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei techol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'vizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach ve'olam ulam me almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudasham b'richu. La'ela ula'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be for a blessing. We say together, amen. Please be seated.
Shana Tova.
You got it through. Nice work.